Shalom.
Shalom.
First and foremost, I want to give all praises to the Heavenly Father.
Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rachak Wadash.
Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders at Great Millstone who rule well. And as always, we give peace and salutations unto the elect. All right, this is Great Millstone Dallas, the branch of Great Millstone here in Dallas, Texas. Another week or weekend to bring out a class, all right, just to stay in the spirit. As we are in dark times, you know, we have light and guidance and comfort through the Holy Spirit. And in these latter days, the Lord has done us a favor through his only begotten Son. Yahweh, through Yahweh Shai, sent us the Holy Spirit. And when you read in Ephesians, these gifts were given unto us for the purpose of edifying the body so that they can come to the true understanding and we can get the hell up out of here, man. All right. And a lot of us are coming out of Christianity in different philosophies. A lot of us say we believed in the Bible when we never read it. But the majority of us came out of the Christian church, and common understanding of the Bible as pertaining to the Christian church is flawed. And there's many reasons why, but in today's lesson, we're going to deal with one of the biggest issues with the Christian church is that they don't have a biblical worldview. They don't look at the things around them pertaining to the Bible. But even within the Bible, they disregard prophecy. They disregard history. And the mass majority of them, because Christians are what? Followers of Yahweh Shai. They're basing their foundation of the understanding of the Bible pretty much rooted in just Matthew going forward. And in that, you skip a whole beast in Daniel the 7th chapter. See, we have to tap into the history of the scattering of the Israelites after Solomon's kingdom was rent. Eventually, after infighting, eventually we went into the Assyrian Empire at the time of King Hezekiah, around that time. All right. But before that, it was all Israel and Judah. All right. It was all 12 tribes were pretty much together. But after Solomon's sin, the kingdom rent, and the tribes, the holy seed, as we're tracking the holy seed, will go through a series of captivities. All right. And within these captivities, things were recorded that we have today, and we believe through the Holy Scriptures in the form of the Bible. All right. We have understanding on what happened and how to track the holy seed of the Lord, the Israelites, through following the blueprint of Daniel, the 7th chapter. And Christians, when you get those four beasts, as we're going to show, the Assyrian, Babylonian, the Medo-Persian, okay, the Greeks, and then the Romans, you should be able to go into each of those histories and find in the Bible, right? You should be able to go into each of those beasts and find the history of the Israelites while they were in those captivities. But Christians skipped a whole third beast in the form of the Greeks, which makes sense why they're confused on hearing Greek or the concepts of a heathen being said, or the Gentiles. So we're going to get into that. Did anyone want to say something?
That's not a quick precept,
Yep,
just to back you up.
Yep.
This is the book of 2 Timothy, chapter 2, verse 15. Study to show thyself approved unto the Most High, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. You know, and you got to rightly divide the word of truth whenever you break down these prophecies and whenever you go into the history.
Right.
You know, the scripture said, not the scripture, excuse me, but I'd rather say there's a saying that we say here at Great Millstone that you got to, in order to understand the mystery, you got to know the history.
Mm-hmm.
And when you skip a whole captivity of the Greeks, and then when you read the New Testament, you just can't start the book of Matthew and think that you can understand the reason as to why Yahweh Shai came on the scene and who he's talking to. And he's just talking, now salvation is open to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? When you don't understand the fact that there was a whole captivity that the Israelites was in during the Hellenistic period, you know, where it wasn't just the Israelites that was Hellenized, all the nations was Hellenized, man. It was Hellenization of everybody.
Yep.
And how did that affect the royal, the holy seed is the question.
Yeah.
To the point where they was calling themselves Greeks and things of that nature. You know?
Right. If I may just to add to that point, because even when you go into when the world was Hellenized, all right, that was during the time period of Alexander the Great, which you can find that in the book of Maccabees. But when you go into that history, when the world was Hellenized, he was actually so intrigued on how us being the Israelite, the Jews, actually kept our customs and served the Lord. So when he was king, he actually allowed us to do our thing, and we weren't even Hellenized at the time of Maccabees. It took till when Antiochus got on the scene for us to actually be Hellenized and follow the ways of those Greeks.
Right.
You know?
Right, because again, the Bible and the volume of the book is our history, the history of the Holy Seed. It starts from the heavens, comes to the earth with Adam, okay, but it takes you through a series of events and things tied to the history of the Holy Seed. It even records the lineage in which the Messiah would be born in. This Bible is a document about the Holy Seed. So, again, as we get into the book of Daniel, the 7th chapter, all right, well, let's get Zechariah.
Pull it up right here.
Okay.
All right.
Because it's important, and we bring up Daniel 7 a lot because it's important, because that chapter gives you the kingdoms and the captivities that we would be in subject to before the kingdom was set up. Right. It literally gives you an outline of the different rulerships and the captivities that we would go into up until the point where the Lord would send his son back to deliver us. Yep. So why wouldn't we bring that up?
Yep, exactly.
It's very important to our salvation, which the Christian church just looks over these things and go about to establish their own righteousness. Go ahead.
God, this is the book of Zechariah, chapter 1, which the prophet Zechariah was a prophet that prophesied during the time of the Persians and the Medes.
There you go.
Okay, so another example just to track that prophet right there.
Right.
All right. So this is the book of Zechariah, chapter 1, and I'm going to jump down to verse 18 and read down. It says, "Then I lifted up mine eyes, and I saw and beheld, Salaki, and behold, 4 horns." Verse 19, "And I said unto the angel that talked with me, what be these?"
Right, 4 horns. Okay, and what's that scripture? The horns of the wicked shall be cut off. All right, the horn represents power. And within prophecy, the Lord gave power as a punishment to the Holy Seed and as a chastening, in a training ground. He's put us in captivity under the heathen nations. That's a part of the hell we got to go through. You see? So the 4 horns, as we're going to show you, represents heathen rulerships in which, particularly, if you want to track the Holy Seed, this is how you would do it according to the scriptures. You got something?
Yeah, I got something just to back up the horns real quick. Lamentations 2:17. It says, "Yahweh hath done that which he hath devised. He hath fulfilled his word that he had commanded in the days of old. He hath thrown down and hath not pitied. And he hath caused thine enemy to rejoice over thee."
Right, and some of the curses were fulfilled, not fulfilled, but a lot of those curses, when you read in Deuteronomy 28, the Babylonians fulfilled a lot of that. But we know that the daughter of Babylon in spirit is doing the same thing.
That's right.
It's the same thing. So he basically put hell on Judah, Benjamin and Levi. It was some of the northern tribes. But again, as we're showing you, what he's reading is history associated with one of those beasts in Daniel, the 7th chapter. Where you at again?
Lamentations 2:17.
Right, the Babylonian Empire. Okay, go ahead.
It says, I'm going to start back towards the end. It says, "And he hath caused thine enemy to rejoice over thee. He hath set up the horn of thine adversaries."
Lamentations 2:17.
Yep.
Okay. Read it again.
Yep. Lamentations 2:17. It says, "Yahweh hath done that which he hath devised. He hath fulfilled his word that he had commanded in the days of old. He hath thrown down and hath not pity. And he hath caused thine enemy to rejoice over thee. He hath set up the horn of thine adversaries."
There you go.
The horn of the adversaries, and horn represents power.
Yep.
You know, so he set up these different beasts and these different, the heathen, to rule over us for a particular period in time until ultimately Yahweh Shah comes to destroy.
Right. It's written in the story.
Exactly.
There's no way around that. Okay.
That was it.
Right.
Psalm 70.
Psalm 75.
75.
Yep.
Psalm 75 verse 10 says, "All the horns of the wicked also will I cut off, but the horns of the righteous shall be exalted."
Right. So horns represent rulerships. Okay. Go ahead.
That was in
Zechariah.
This is back in Zechariah chapter 1, verse 19. And it says, "And I said unto the angel that talked with me, what be these? And he answered me, These are the horns which have scattered Judah Israel and Jerusalem.
Right. Basically, they scattered Israel through captivity. Okay. And when you look at it through the Assyrian Empire, the northern kingdom completely fled. The Assyrians were oppressive, man. They were hardcore with the sword.
Very.
So the tribes were like, we leaving here, and they came over here to the Americas, and that's recorded in the Apocrypha. See what I'm saying? From there, after the Assyrian Empire, we went to the Babylonian Empire. This is where you read, all right, these particular histories, man. Go ahead.
Verse 21. And then said I said like in verse 20, and the Lord showed me 4 carpenters. Then said I.
And which captivity was Zechariah in?
Zechariah was in the Medo-Persian.
Medo-Persian. There you go.
Because him and Haggai was around
They
the
built
same
the
time.
temple. Yep.
Yep.
So here you're reading a prophecy. Just like today, you have access to the prophets scattered in Babylon through videos, through going out on the highways. Well, this is our access to the prophets as they were in their captivities. Notable men whom the Lord raised up and put the Spirit on, and their records have survived. Not through the will of man, but through the will of the Lord. And we have the Holy Scriptures as a means to tap into that. What were they saying? What was going on with the Jews in the Babylonian Empire? What was going on with the Israelites where they were over here? What happened with the Northern Kingdom when they,
Yep.
Go ahead.
Gone. Continuing in verse 21, it says, and he spake, saying, these are the horns that have scattered Judah, so that no man did lift up his head. But these are come to fray them, to cast out the horns of the Gentiles, which lifted up their horn over the land of Judah to scatter it.
There you go. So you had the 4 horns, which represents the heathen rulerships, but then you see 4 carpenters, okay, which ultimately it's the angels, but through the Spirit there's leadership that the Lord has always kept around through the Holy Spirit, all right, to work works, man, to keep and the angels work directly with those men in the earth to ultimately push forth the right message, all right, that's in line with what the Lord wanted in that captivity or wherever we were, okay? And ultimately through the Holy Spirit, the horns of the wicked are getting ready to be taken down, all right, through Yahweh Shah and the holy angels. And this word has been given unto us as a means to aid that process. All right, you got something?
It's heavy when you get that word carpenters in the Hebrew. That word is charash. And one of the definitions says, of course, it's like a craftsman, an artisan, engraver. One of the definitions says skillful to destroy.
There you go.
Skillful.
Skillful to destroy. Warriors.
Yeah. Yep. Warrior. Yep.
Yep.
That was it.
All right, so where we at now? Let's get Daniel the 7th chapter.
Con, you want to start at the top?
Whatever, whatever you feel.
Okay, I mean, I kind of jump around with it
Yep.
because, it goes into detail on the whole chapter.
Right, so we're getting Daniel the 7th chapter where, you read about 4 beasts. Okay, go ahead.
This is the book of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 1. And it reads, in the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions upon his head, dream and visions of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters.
Right.
Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the 4 winds of heaven strove upon the great sea. Right, which that great sea is talking about the Mediterranean Sea. You know what I'm saying? That sea right there is right there where the Holy Land is, where heathens, that's right there with, pretty much where the hub of where we all came from. Okay, verse 3 says, and 4 great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another. The first was like a lion and had eagle wings.
Right, a lion that has eagle wings. And what is that talking about? That's talking about the Assyrian Babylonian Empire. All right, now Daniel is where? In the Babylonian Empire as he's writing this. But where in the Bible do we look to find the history, all right, of the Israelites as they're in the Assyrian Babylonian Empire? Well, all right, let's go to our great friend here. All right, wait, hold up.
I'm gonna break it down to the time, historical period, everything.
Oh, hold on, give me 1 second here.
Give first-hand accounts of returning from the exile, of course.
Right,
Yep.
right. There you go. So we're going to start with the Assyrian, because they say Babylonian, but we know it was the Assyrian Babylonian captivity. All right. So go ahead.
Let's see. So for the Assyrian, because it only shows the Babylonian one in there. But,
Yeah.
For the Assyrian, I'll probably actually, you know what?
Isaiah was some of the Assyrian.
Yeah,
Yeah, he sure was.
Some of Isaiah was during the time that King Hezekiah was on the scene, so that would have to be through the Assyrian Empire.
Amos as well.
Amos.
Isaiah 37.
All right. Okay.
Isaiah, Micah, Amos, and Hosea all were contemporaries together. They all
Right.
prophesied at the same time.
I thought Micah prophesied during the time of Israel's rule. You sure?
I'm doing less on the whole book of Micah right now. Yeah.
Okay.
Micah, Hosea, Amos, and Isaiah. You know.
All right. So what I'm doing, I'm typing in ChatGPT.
Okay.
Where in the Bible can I find history of the Assyrian Empire? And this is kind of off the top. Okay. We just kind of, I didn't even know I was teaching class. Oh, okay. I know. I got to do it like this.
Soko with the villages thereof, and Timnah with the villages thereof, Gimzo also in the villages thereof, and they dwelt there. Here's the point. For Yahweh brought Tiglath-Pileser, Shalmaneser, Sennacherib.
Yep.
You know, these particular Assyrian kings that are written in history that vexed the southern kingdom, right? But they didn't actually end up taking down the southern kingdom. You can read that in Isaiah the 8th chapter. But when you read 2 Kings 17, they took the northern tribes into captivity.
That's right.
Underneath Shalmaneser the 5th. You know? So I just wanted to, bring that precept out there, just for the southern kingdom's sake of it. Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
So what are the nations? What are the different captivities again? So we have Hosea.
Mm-hmm. You have Hosea. You have Hosea, Isaiah, Amos, and Micah.
Yep.
They all prophesied. They were contemporaries together.
Mm-hmm.
Isaiah prophesied, particularly. He really prophesied to both kingdoms, honestly.
Yeah.
But it was mainly to the southern kingdom about the coming invasion of the Assyrian Empire. But he did prophesy about the northern kingdom being taken into captivity as well. Amos was of the southern. He was of the southern kingdom, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but he prophesied to the
Prophesied
northern.
to the northern
Him
kingdom.
and Hosea prophesied to the northern kingdom, and Jonah too, obviously.
Technically,
You know.
And
Right.
then-
Jake was going off. Jake was heavy into idol worship. Not one of those kings did right. One did okay. I forget his name, but he was Is it Jehu? No, it wasn't.
Jehu did do okay until he was.
He was
looked at.
Northern Kingdom, right?
Jehu is no
Well,
king.
Yeah.
okay.
So that's the only one that did
Yeah.
okay. Then he
Right.
went off.
Then he fell off.
But out of the rest of those, the rulers, they were just wicked.
Yeah,
Right.
Yep.
Judah, a lot of those rulers were wicked, but 6 of them or 7 were right, with
Yeah.
Josiah being the last one.
Yep. Yep.
A woman even sat on the throne of David.
Yeah.
Athaliah, there was a lot of wickedness going on, man.
Yeah, wasn't that Joash's mother?
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
I'm looking at the time.
Okay, yeah.
She wanted to kill all of the prophets,
Yeah.
basically.
Yep.
You know. So that's where you can find a history of the Israelites within Daniel the 7th chapter. All right, as far as the Assyrian Empire. So then you have the Babylonian Empire. Okay, which ultimately, let's keep reading.
Okay.
Right, read it again.
Got it.
Daniel 7.
This is the book of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 2. It says, Daniel speaking said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the 4 winds of heaven strove up upon the great sea, and the 4 beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another. The first was like a lion, and had eagle's wings. I beheld till the wings were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth, and made stand upon its feet as a man, and a man's heart was given unto it. If I may, really quick too as well, going into this lion having eagle's wings, it's actually very heavy to those people that try to say that the Bible isn't true. You can actually, and that what we're doing is we're tracking the actual secular history tied with it. But this lion having eagle's wings is also documented in history and was a deity that was worshipped in ancient Mesopotamia. And it was called Lamassu. You can type it in for yourself, but it was a lion having a man's head, a lion's body, and eagle's wings. You know, for people that try to say that the Bible isn't accurate, you have ample precepts that goes into syncing and linking up all these different, world superpowers in their time, and the Bible goes into it. And this is one example of it right here, because this first beast represents the Assyrian and Babylonian Empire. All right, namely Babylon, of course, but they are linked You know, I believe Nebuchadnezzar was an Assyrian, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Yep, he was.
All right. But again, going into that lion with eagle's wings is actually documented in secular history. And that was a deity that was worshipped by the heathen.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
If I just add on to you real quick, I'm going to read this from Google. It says the griffin, just back you up, the griffin, a mythical creature with the body of a lion and the head and wings of an eagle, was a prominent symbol in Assyrian art and mythology, particularly during the Neo-Assyrian period. Griffins were often depicted in ivory plate, yada yada. But just going into the point of having a lion's head but eagle's wings, going into the griffin, you know what I'm saying, which was in the Assyrian Empire, you know.
And I did have something here I wanted to read pertaining, if it's if it's cool. But this is just a little history in Google on Lamasu. All right, and it says I'm gonna read this first. I'll just get straight to the point here. It says Lamasu depict a winged creature with the bearded head of a human and the body, it says, of a bull or a lion, but most of the pictures you're going to see is going to be of a lion with it. All right, and it says, during the Assyrian period, Mesopotamian kings established palaces in cities such as Nimrod, and it says Nimrud, but we know it's talking about Nimrod. And it also says Dur Shurakin, but it says the places were a display of the king's power, and Lamasu served to guard and exude the power. So it was a symbolic expression of pretty much those ancient Babylonian kings.
That's it. That's it.
You know?
Right. Now, I want to make note, too, even before we get into the Assyrian Empire, there's history, too. Elisha and Elijah prophesied during the kingdom of Israel. Okay? During the kingdom, King Ahab, that wicked guy, all right? That was during the kingdom of Israel. Because after King Solomon, went off, eventually the tribes, they kind of separated, but they didn't go directly into the Assyrian captivity.
Right.
It was some time, the Assyrian captivity came at the time of Hezekiah. There were kings, you know what I'm saying, that were sitting on the throne of David going off before him. Okay? So you have Elisha and Elijah in the kingdom of Israel. During the kingdom of Judah, you had Joel. You can read the book of Joel. That's during the time of the kingdom of Judah.
Yep.
You see that? So then we go to the Assyrian Empire, and you have Jonah, you have Tobit, you have Hosea, Amos, Micah, Nahum, but that's kind of Babylon too, and Isaiah. That's the Assyrian. That's how you track. That's where you get the history of the Israelites within the Assyrian captivity. You read these books. All right? Jonah, Tobit, Hosea, Amos, Micah, Nahum, and Isaiah. Now we're reading about the Babylonian Empire, and that's Jeremiah, Zephaniah, Obadiah, Habakkuk, Ezekiel, Daniel, Baruch. See what I'm saying? So when you read Daniel, the 7th chapter, as we're reading about this captivity, as a believer of the Bible, you should know where to go, especially if you're a teacher. This is where you get an advantage over the Christian, because the Christians don't want to view the Bible from this perspective. They don't understand that when you're reading the book of Daniel, the 7th chapter, and you read about the fourth beast, Rome, that's the New Testament.
Right.
Exactly.
The New Testament is the fourth beast.
The whole New Testament.
It's in the height of the fourth beast.
It's in the height of it.
Pax Romana.
Pax Romana.
If I mind if I add a point?
Yep.
That's why when you read it in Acts, the 1st chapter, when Yahushua resurrected from the dead, the disciples is like, now is it time to restore the kingdom? And Yahushua said, there's a few more things that got to be fulfilled. Meaning the fourth beast had to continue his rulership.
Yeah.
That little season had to be let loose.
Right.
All of that had to happen.
Right.
Yep. When you read it's like when you read the prophets, when you read Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, so on and so forth, and you read geopolitically what was going on at that time in their lifetimes, you use what was happening at that time to link it to today.
Yes.
Because it's the same thing that's going to be happening all over again.
Right.
It's just in a different, we're in a more technological age. You know what I'm saying? So when it tells you, Wellington that go down to Egypt for help, things of that nature, you link that to today.
Right. And they even had their slave names.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego.
Daniel, his name was
Daniel,
Belshazzar.
Yeah, Belshazzar. They all had slaves. Esther.
Yeah,
That's a slave name.
Yeah, Mordecai.
Yeah,
That's a
Mordecai is
slave
a
name.
slave name.
Yep.
So you're reading about the holy seed, all right, as pertaining to what Daniel said. I mean, basically. So we just read what the Babylonian.
Yep.
All right, so let's go now.
Come.
So you have the history of the Israelites. All right, we're gonna start over again. You can write these down, whoever's listening. Elijah and Elisha was during the kingdom of Israel. All right, King Ahab during the kingdom of Israel. During the kingdom of Judah, you had Joel. All right, but the captivity started
Right.
under the Assyrian.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, Israel was warring with each other and kind of going off. You had certain kings who may have did good, but then you go to the Assyrian Empire. All right, which King Hezekiah was a king during that time. It says Jonah, Tobit, Hosea, Amos, Micah, Nahum, which that was Babylon as well, Isaiah. All right, so now we read the Babylonian Empire. Jeremiah, Zephaniah, Obadiah, Habakkuk, Ezekiel, Daniel, Baruch. All right, now let's go to the next beast.
All right, cool. So this is back in Daniel chapter 7, all right, and going into verse 5. It says, and behold, and beheld another beast, a second, like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it between the teeth of it.
Right, and this ultimately the bear that raised itself up on one side is the Medo-Persian Empire. The Medes were a power first, right? The Medes were, and the Medes were Japhetic people. And ultimately, now we're going into the Medo-Persian beast, which is a captivity, a scattering of the Jews primarily, because by this time, all right, the northern kingdom had left.
Right.
The kingdom of Israel had left the Assyrian Empire and came over to the Americas. Which, where do we find that? That's in the book of Second Esdras.
13.
Because when you read the scripture, they're not there in large numbers. So where did they go?
Exactly.
Well, we get the history and the Apocrypha, and you Christians lack an understanding of the New Testament, which you try to be masters in, because you refuse to apply history, prophecy. All right, and you lose. So we have the Medo-Persian Empire now. All right,
Got a precept?
go ahead.
This is Daniel 5. I'm going to just jump straight to the point because when you read, starting at verse 25 on down, it goes into Mene, Tekel, Upharsin, going into how whenever the Babylonian Empire was going to be taken down, right? This is Daniel chapter 5, all right, verse 30 and 31. It says, in that night was Belshazzar, the king of the Chaldeans, slain. And Darius the Median took the kingdom, being about 62 years old.
What verse you at?
I just read verse 30 and 31. I can start at the minute.
No, you don't.
But yeah,
Yep.
that's when Belshazzar was taken down, which was Nebuchadnezzar's great grandson,
Right.
if I'm not mistaken. And then that's when Darius the Mede began to reign,
Yep.
going into the beginning of the Medo-Persian Empire.
Right.
You know?
Right.
That's right.
Right.
And when it goes into the 3 ribs in its mouth, that's going into the 3 major conquests. That pretty much Persia. During that conquest of Persia, 3 major empires that was taken down. All right, you have Babylon, which is one of them, which is the example that you just went into. Then you also have Egypt, because remember, Babylon and Egypt was a lot of warring going on back and forth between those two as well. All right, and then you have the third one, which is Lydia, which you can get into history as well. Secondly, with that, but those represent those 3 horns in the mouth of that bear. I'll say, those 3 ribs in the mouth of the bear at the water.
Right.
We can go back to it.
Yeah, read it again.
God, this is back in Daniel 7, verse 5. And it says, and beheld another beast, a second, like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in its mouth of it between the teeth of it. And they said unto it, arise, devour much flesh. After this I beheld, and lo, like a leopard.
Right. So that beast you just read, all right, which we have breakdowns on Daniel the 7th chapter. We don't have to go too deep into it, but it was talking about how the Medes and the Persians, conquered and so forth. But the during the Medio Empire, I typed it in here on ChatGPT. who prophesied during the Mede Empire. All right, and basically it was just around during these prophets, but Daniel, okay, Haggai, Zechariah, Ezra, Nehemiah, okay.
Okay, go ahead. Exactly.
Makes
Yep.
sense.
So yeah, and then it gives the time frame. But the Medial Empire was around doing their thing during the times of these biblical characters.
Yep.
Okay. So again, we have the Medial, and then you have the Persian. All right. Ezra, Nehemiah, Zechariah, Haggai, Malachi. Okay, pretty
So
much.
before that was Nahum was before that.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was before that. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nahum was doing the Assyrian.
Assyrian.
At the
Empire.
end, the very end of this year.
Nineveh, remember he was.
Yeah, that transition.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I know Nineveh.
Yep.
Yep.
Probably got it mixed up with Nehemiah.
Yep.
Nehemiah.
No, I was thinking Nahum was before that during the Assyrian.
Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So there you go. So now you can know, because it's dope to notice when you're reading these prophets, what captivity were they in? You know what I'm saying?
We asked that a lot at the camp, like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
to get brothers to think, and then we pull up the illustration of the
Yep.
Daniel 2
Yep.
breakdown.
Well, y'all got all the signs. We don't get no signs. We like second string. You know what I'm saying? We don't got shit over there, boy. 12 tribe signs. We just Ezekiel 37. That's it. We raising up the dry bones. That's it.
I got a precept real quick
Yep.
to back you up. This is Isaiah 45, verse 1. It says, "Thus saith Yahweh to his anointed, to Cyrus, whose right hand I have holden, to subdue nations before him. And I will loose the loins of kings, to open before him the two-leaved gates, and the gates shall not be shut." Now, the reason why I wanted to bring this out is because Isaiah, he prophesied, this was about, I want to say 765, maybe like 350 years or so, maybe a little bit more than that, before Cyrus even came on the scene. And he was a Persian. So Isaiah prophesied that Cyrus was even going to come on the scene way before Cyrus was even born through the Spirit.
Right.
He prophesied he was going to be the one that the Lord was going to set up to have the Israelites go back from the Babylonian Empire to go back to Jerusalem to build the second temple.
Right.
And this is before Cyrus even came on the scene. Which this is secular history. You have particular like cuneiforms. You have particular cylinders that have written particular prophets' names
Right.
of how these particular kings, when they ruled, they actually have their history. And it mentions Israelites in there.
Yeah, Sennacherib prison.
Yeah, the Sennacherib prism, it's there. You have the Meshastele, that's another one.
Moabite
The
stone.
Moabite stone, and this is the heathens' history. And they mention particular king. I remember one of them mentioned King David.
Moabite stone.
The Moabite stone does. It actually says Dawadah in there. And it has the name of Yahweh in there too.
Well, he had him in slavery, so of course they're gonna write about him.
Yeah. So it's there. Like the history's there.
Yep. Yep.
That was it.
Good stuff.
That's it. So yeah, back to Daniel 7, or
Kind of.
unless anybody else had anything.
This is back in Daniel chapter 7, verse 6. After this I beheld, and lo, another like
Right.
a
So again, the Daniel 7 and 5 is talking about the Medial. It raised itself up on one side, the bear, the Medial Persian Empire. Okay. Today, in a lot of prophecies, you see the Medes being associated with Russia, because where the Medes ruled, it's in the territory of the Soviet Union.
Right.
They ruled in that, the Soviet Union territories. That was where the Medes ruled, is it within that border. All right. But ultimately, the Medes were Japhetic people.
Right, yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And ultimately, then you had the Persians. Now we're going to the next beast, all right, which is the Greeks. Go ahead.
God. Verse 6, Daniel 7 and 6. After this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads.
Right.
And dominion was given unto it.
Right. And ultimately, just when you read Revelation 13, because it talks about the leopard real quick, all right, this beast system that we live in starts with the Greeks.
Yep.
This is Revelation chapter 13 and 2. And the beast I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, because out of that region where the Medes are, it's going to lead up a rebellion in the latter days against them. But the bottom line is the leopard represents the Greeks, which is the beginning of this beast system that we, are in. Okay. And what does that represent? The Greek captivity. Now, if you believe in the Bible, where do you find a history of the Israelites in the Greek Empire? Where do you go?
Maccabees.
Now, if you're a Christian, you skip.
Exactly,
Somebody look
yeah.
up how much history is that from the Greek Empire to the Roman Empire.
The Grecian Empire. Yeah, the Grecian Empire.
Got to be 3 something, right?
No, it gotta be.
It's not about
It gotta be like
BC,
300 something years.
Yeah.
It's about 3 something triple.
Yeah, it started 331 BC to 168 BC,
Right.
and then the Romans came in after 168 BC. So that's about almost 200, like
Right.
I'm sorry, 180 something.
But it got to be more.
Okay, well, from
It
the-
says
It got to be more because there's recorded history out of Greek that wasn't recorded.
I'm gonna say,
You know.
I put it in Gronk 3. How long was the Greek Empire starting with Alexander the Great? The Greek Empire, often associated with the Hellenistic period, starting with Alexander the Great, spans from his conquest around 336 BCE until the Roman conquest of the last major Hellenistic kingdom in 31 BCE. All right, so about 300 years. 305 years. They have it.
Okay. So if you're because again,
So they just mark out 305 years of history.
right,
Sheesh.
It's nasty
like
work
nothing
right
was
there.
happening.
they just wipe it out and then think that they're going to have an understanding of Matthew, Mark, Luke, John,
Right.
and the New
Exactly.
Testament,
The dynamic and what's going
Paul's
on.
writings, the wording.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You see what I'm saying?
That's crazy.
Crazy.
So as a Bible believer, then ultimately, what does the scriptures talk about? Taking away.
Yeah.
You're taken away from the scriptures because if you do away with the Apocrypha, then how do you track the Holy Seed? How do you get understanding of what's taking place in the New Testament? So in the Greek Empire, we have Mattathias, his son Judah Maccabees, Eleazar, and this other notable, the woman who children, and her children were put to death. That's during that captivity. Okay?
Yeah, Sirach, the whole book was written during it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yep. There's no way you can understand Daniel the 11th chapter,
Right.
which basically goes into that whole Syrian war between all the four between the Seleucid and the Ptolemaic families. You know, that's detailed in Daniel the 11th chapter. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, how can you put these things together without understanding history? You know, you can't.
Right.
You can't.
Hey, in Hebrews 11 and 35, it says, women received their loved ones back again from death, but others were tortured, refusing to turn from God in order to be set free.
What are they talking about?
Right.
They placed their hope in a better life after the resurrection. And that's talking about
The brothers.
the second Maccabees, the 7th chapter.
Ooh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Ah, dang.
He's talking about the history of
Forgot all about that
the
account.
Israelites, because he's talking about those who had the faith.
Right.
Yeah.
And it starts, going all the way back to, I believe, Abel, like faith, like it was just going through certain aspects of this holy seed and what was happening with them in these captivities where the Lord showed great works through their faith, man.
Right.
So who was he talking about right here?
Right.
Right. Exactly.
You mind if I read something real quick?
Yep.
Whatever you do.
Yeah, I got
So I got something pulled up here about Sirach, right?
Mm-hmm.
It says the author Yahushua ben Sirach was a learned.
Because Sirach was during the Greek Empire.
During the Greek Empire.
It's another one. Got to add that. Go ahead.
It says Yahushua ben Sirach was a learned Jewish scribe, air quotes, scribe living in Jerusalem. He wrote Sirach in Hebrew, and his grandson later translated it into Greek around 132 BC after moving to Egypt, a Greek-speaking region under Ptolemaic rule.
Right.
The book reflects the challenges Jews face living under Hellenistic influence, including the pressure to conform to Greek customs and abandon the laws and traditions of the Most High. So when you read the book of Sirach, this is giving you the game on pretty much how to move in the right way as an Israelite while you're in captivity underneath the heathen. See, like you mentioned earlier, Shar, Sirach 12 and 10. I think it is, never trust thine enemy. For as iron rusts the souls of wickedness, whereas you can get amalgamated into these Greek ways of thinking.
Right.
You know.
Right, and another one we forgot was Esther. That's the Persian Empire.
Oh,
too.
that's another example. Yep.
Yep. Esther is the history of Jake and the Persian Empire.
That's right.
Okay.
It specifically calls Haman a Macedonian in the editions of Esther.
Right.
That's right. That's right.
Yep. And the book of Esther is sometimes also known as the book of Mordecai. You know what I'm saying, as well too. You know, if you go into history, sometimes they call it the book of Mordecai as well. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that was during that time period too.
Yeah.
You know?
And I mean, I do got a little history. It's just a little info pulled up pertaining to Alexander.
Yep.
Because we just read that in the scriptures it likens to a leopard having four heads and 4 wings. You know, now when you look up some history on Alexander, which he was the first king to really rule the known world at that time, when the world was Hellenized, it says, and I just type it in Google AI overview. It says, yes, representations of Alexander the Great sometimes show him wearing leopard skin, particularly in context of coins and art. The leopard skin, along with other symbols like a horn, and in Daniel 8, it goes into him being like a horn, and it was divided into 4 pieces. So even in their culture, you know, they liken him to a horn within their culture, you know, but it says along with other symbols like a horn and a bull's ear were used to convey divine or heroic attributes, potentially linking Alexander to figures like Dionysus and Heracles, for example, the Tetrachum from around 301 BC. But the point into that is going into how he wore actually a leopard skin helmet, and it talks about that there. You know, just as you had the lion that had the wings, that was Lamassu, an ancient deity that was worshipped. The Lord actually used certain references that the heathen used when he actually had this written down. You know, when this vision was shown to Daniel, the Lord made it easy for Daniel to understand because this was actually symbolism that was used by the heathen.
Yep.
You know?
What did you type in to pull that up?
I just typed in, did Alexander wear leopard skin?
Okay.
In Google.
Okay.
But that was pretty much it on that point.
Right. All right. So going back, where we at?
God, this is back in Daniel chapter 7. I just read verse 6.
So read that again.
God.
The third beast.
Okay. Back in Daniel 7 and 6, it says, after this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl, and the beast also 4 heads.
Right, and that's basically Alexander and his 4 generals:
Right.
Lysimaeus, Cassander, Ptolemy, Lysimaeus,
Yeah, he's like Seleucus.
Seleucid. You know, and you get some of this history when you go into the Apocrypha. This is how you're able to track the holy seed in that empire, in that beast. And if you skip this beast, there is no way. All right, because let's get Maccabees real quick. What happened? There are key things even in that first chapter alone. There's key words and themes that ultimately guide you to the understanding of why the New Testament say what it say. All right. Because what's the theme of the New Testament in Paul's right? Circumcision, uncircumcision, Jew nor Greek. Well, what does that mean?
Right.
If you skip a whole beast in Daniel,
You don't understand.
you don't understand that.
Right. Even the term synagogue, that didn't really even come around until around the Babylonian Empire. You know,
Right.
synagogues, when you look up the origin of synagogues, when did they start coming to
Okay,
be?
okay.
It wasn't like, you know, before the Babylonian exile that those were really on the scene like that.
Right.
So I have Maccabees. Or,
Yep.
I was going to read in the GNT.
Yep. And the Maccabees, the GNT?
Yeah.
Okay. First Maccabees, GNT. I'll pull it
Now,
up.
when you first pull this up, it talks about the history of Alexander the Great, coming out of Philip of Macedonia. Then it talks about how he got sick after 12 years and died. You know, and during his 13th year, Alexander the Great died, and it got split up between his 4 generals. Then it says, and evils were increased upon the earth. So when you go down to verse 10 in 1 Maccabees 1 and 10, it talks about Antiochus Epiphanes and what started to happen within the Hellenistic period. It says the wicked ruler Antiochus Epiphanes, the son of King Antiochus III of Syria, was a descendant of one of Alexander's generals. Antiochus Epiphanes had been a hostage in Rome before he became king of Syria in the year 137. This is, I believe, detailed in Daniel 11.
Yep.
At that time, there appeared in the land of Israel a group of traitorous traitorous Jews who had no regard for the law and who had a bad influence on many of our people, they said, let us come to terms with the Gentiles, for our refusal to associate with them has brought us nothing but trouble. This proposal appealed to many people, and some of them became so enthusiastic about it that they went to the king and received from him permission to follow Gentile customs.
Boom. That's one thing. Okay, he went to them, all right, to have permission, an Israelite, to follow Gentile customs. That's the theme of the New Testament.
That's exactly it.
There it is right there.
And that's what Jake does now.
That's the same thing, bro. Go ahead.
They built in Jerusalem a stadium like those in the Greek cities.
There you go. They made Jerusalem Greekish, man. Go ahead.
They had surgery performed to hide their circumcision.
That's crazy. Wow.
Insane.
Good gracious.
All right, so they would put skin back onto their rod to make it seem like they wasn't circumcised.
Damn, bro.
Right? So this the circumcision becomes the uncircumcision.
Yeah.
They were actually trying to do that. Right? Abandoned the Holy Covenant, started associating with Gentiles, and did all sorts of other evil things. Okay? So it talks about Antiochus.
You got to keep reading. Oh, okay. They abandoned their covenant.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It says they abandoned
Yep.
the covenant
Yep.
and started associating with Gentiles and did all sorts of evil things.
There you go. So this is now. If you don't understand, if you don't read this history, you're not gonna read the fourth beast, which is coming up, the Roman Empire, and have understanding.
Right.
You gonna be on the outer court.
Right.
You gonna just be like, God loves everybody, smiling, blinking,
Crazy.
looking at white Jesus. You know, no, you're not gonna really. It's not gonna click to you.
Yeah. It's crazy in the days of Sirach. They saw it was looking at them white Jesus pictures, Serapis Christus.
Yeah, Serapis Christus.
I was just about to say that,
That was heavily pushed among
That's
our people
spirit, yeah.
during the Greek Empire, man.
Yeah. Because that was the idol at that time.
Yeah,
so
that was it.
that was Jesus.
Serapis.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah, that's why I think Paul mentioned. He says, "If thou come worshiping another Jesus, like who was he talking about?
Christianos.
He was talking about. Serapis, literally. You know.
Right. Jump to verse 60.
Okay.
Start at 59. Well, where does it say he
40.
consented to their religion?
40. 41.
Okay, go ahead.
Verse 41. Antiochus, now after he came back, basically Antiochus came, he was born with Ptolemaic Empire, but they was able to take over, and then they came down into what we understand in Roman times as Judea, where our people was at. Start taking that over and building up altars, right? You go down to verse 40 in 1 Maccabees 1:41. It says, Antiochus now issued a decree that all nations in his empire should abandon their own customs and become one people. All the Gentiles and even many of the Israelites submitted to this decree. They adopted the official pagan religion, offered sacrifices to idols, and no longer observed the Sabbath.
There you go. So this will give you an understanding of what's going on in the New Testament as pertaining to these Gentiles that are coming back into the fold.
Yep.
Ultimately, when you see Timothy was a Greek, when you see Titus, you know, these are uncircumcised, because they were born of these people who sold out, who abandoned their customs, you know, who totally gave in. Our parents,
Yeah.
they were Greeked out.
Yep.
We were raised as Greeks,
Yeah.
but we're Israelites, and we believe it first and foremost through faith. So when you go into the New Testament and you see this argument about circumcision, you got to know this history right here. That's what's that in 2 Corinthians 2:12 or 12:2
Yeah, 12 and 2.
or 1 Corinthians.
Yeah, I actually just passed it just now, actually, when I was looking for a precept. So I can pull it up. I already got it right here.
Yep.
This is 1 Corinthians chapter 12, jumping straight to the point here in verse 2. It says, ye know that ye were Gentiles carried away unto dumb idols, even as ye were led. You know, so that says it right there.
That's it.
You know?
Yep, they were led away by dumb idols, man. Why? Because during the Greek captivity, you had close to 300 and some years of Jake being Greeked out.
Mm-hmm. Just like you, Jay got Americanized over here.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
But you also had the Maccabean family who stood for the customs. Okay?
Turn the ringer off. Turn the ringer off.
Who stuck to the script.
Right.
They went around circumcising certain Israelite boys.
They sure did.
They were putting to death some of those who sold out.
Yeah.
Jake, who was Greeked out, the Maccabees was going around slaying them.
Yep, straight
That was a heavy contention.
Yep. If I may add to your point, you know, if you don't understand this history, then you're not going to know. But the Pharisees, they were descendants from them. They was descendants
Yes.
from the Hasmonean dynasty.
Yes.
Those are those same descendants that stuck to the laws and
Right.
traditions and the ways.
The
going
Zealots,
back,
a lot of the
going-
Zealots.
Yep, going
Yeah.
back to the Persian Empire.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Where they was sticking to that way. So when you see in Yahweh Shai's time when he was going up against the scribes and the Pharisees, the scribes and the Pharisees, they was looking at Jake.
Right.
That was in a Greek Greco-Roman state of mind. It was like, hell no.
That's why it was so much contention.
Yeah, they was like, no. You know what I'm saying? So that's what that. But those were they were the offspring
Right.
of the Maccabees.
Right. Some of the holy seed fell away, but some stuck to the traditions.
Yep. Yep. Because Pharisee literally means Pharisee. When you break that word down, literally means devout ones.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it means. It means the devout ones. And also, too, when you go into the high priesthood that was during Yahweh Shai's time, Caiaphas and all them, they wasn't Pharisees. They were Sadducees.
Sadducees.
See what I'm saying? And the Sadducees were the ones that were heavily influenced into the Roman government. You see what I'm saying? So a lot of times when you read about the high priesthood, those were Sadducees, and they didn't believe in the resurrection or anything like that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Not to jump the gun, but
No, you good. You good. I mean, we ain't got too much more because pretty much you can find the history of the Israelites within the Greek captivity, all right, and the Maccabees, Sirach, he was during the Greek captivity. Okay, and what is you got something?
I do got a quick one, real quick, just because the brother brought it up, but I've been having a hell. But this is an example in the New Testament where, again, if you understand this history, then you'll know what this is linking to when I'm getting ready to read. It links to Maccabees. All right, this is the book of St. John, chapter 11, verse 48. And this is after Yahweh Shai rose Lazarus up from the dead. And you had those wicked scribes, Pharisees, and Sadducees that tried to put that on hush mode. That way it didn't bleed into the Roman world. But this is John chapter 11, verse, I'm starting at verse 40. Actually, you know what? Start at verse 46. It says, but some of them went their ways to the Pharisees and told them what things Yahweh Shai had done, like raising Lazarus up from the dead. Verse 47, then gathered the chief priests, all right, which were the Sadducees, and the Pharisees a council, and said, what do we owe? For this man doeth many miracles. If we let him thus alone, all men will believe on him, and the Romans shall come and take away both our place and nation. All right? And that was pretty much the point. And when you read it in Maccabees, namely in 2nd Maccabees, it goes into the account where those actual, those brothers, those Maccabees, made those links with those Romans. And it actually happened a few times, and they kept reaffirming it and renewing it. It happened about 3 times when you read it in 2nd Maccabees. But you can read about that in Maccabees where the Jews made that league with the Romans.
Right, and then what's that in John the 10th chapter, the dedication?
Yep, I had that help.
Yep. Where does that come from?
Exactly.
I got it. John 10 and 22, and it was at Jerusalem, the feast of dedication, and it was winter. NLT, it was now winter, and Yahweh Shai was in Jerusalem at the time of Hanukkah, the festival of dedication.
Come on, man.
So here it is. You have the feast of dedication being mentioned, and that history is associated with something that took place in the Maccabean Empire.
Right.
The Apocrypha is very important. And it's interesting that in the book of John, you get a lot of these, like even in, what is 1 in 12, right? John 12, we read it earlier.
John
Oh, yeah,
11.
I think it's John 12 and
Yeah,
the 12 and
right. And I'll look up this word, I'll go to John 10, Was it 22?
John 12 and 20, I think is one.
Okay, I'll look up dedication here in the Greek. It says feast of dedication.
Greeks.
Strong's G 1456. Ekainia. Ekainia.
Okay, in particular, the annual feast celebrated 8 days beginning in the 25th of Chislev, middle of our December, instituted by Judah Maccabees in 164 BC in memory of cleansing the temple from pollution of Antiochus Epiphanes. Okay, so again, as we're going to show you when we go into the fourth beast, you're reading about. All right, that's the New Testament, as we'll show you. But you had something, Tazama?
I had that John 12 and 20 for you real quick.
Okay.
This is John chapter 12, verse 20. It says, and there were certain Greeks among them. Actually, you know what? Let me just start it for context sake. This is John chapter 12, verse 19. It says, the Pharisees therefore said among themselves.
Right, and the Pharisees, the difference, the Sadducees, they all come from the families that fought during the Greek Empire, the Maccabees. You know, those different Jakes who stood firm. When Yahushua is born and comes on the scene, these particular sects or camps, Essenes, Sadducees, the Zealots, these were Jews who were in the mindset that we are the reason we still got the culture.
We're fighting for the survival of our people.
We fought for the survival of our people. So then you got Yahushua comes, and now people who didn't can be brought into the fold. Hell no.
Exactly.
But go ahead, brother.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just like you said, when you read in First Maccabees, the second chapter, when Mattathias, when they finally got an army, they went and killed the renegade Israelites, the ones that was going over to the Greek fashion.
Yeah.
They went and slaughtered.
That's why it was a hot topic for the Gentiles to be brought. You know what I'm saying? That wasn't like they didn't even look at them as Israelites.
They looked at them like heathen.
Heathen, right? Right.
Yep.
Go ahead.
This is St. John chapter 12, verse 19. The Pharisees therefore said among themselves, perceive ye how ye prevail nothing? Behold, the world is gone after him. Talking about the Yahushua. And there were certain Greeks among them that came up to worship at the feast. And when you read this in the NLT, it says some Greeks who had come to Jerusalem for the Passover celebration.
There you go.
And that links with what? That links going back to Acts, the second chapter.
Yep.
Those Israelites that were among the Greeks that went back up to Jerusalem according to the law.
But only Jews would do that.
Exactly.
So these Greeks were basically Jews who had ultimately come from that group. They kept their customs though. All right.
Yep.
Just like even within Judea, within, I'll say, basically within Judea, but slightly outside of it, you had Samaria, and then you had Galilee. You know, those Israelites that were living in Galilee, they would come down to Jerusalem for certain feasts and customs as well, even though they lived outside of, the immediate area of Jerusalem. They would still come down.
Yeah. Because you have the Greek word, you have Hellen, and then you have Hellenistes, right? Because, in that particular word in John 12 is Helen, which it really should be Hellenistes. That's when you gotta differentiate when the blue letter's going off or not.
Exactly.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because Hellenistes are Israelites that knew they're Israelites that spoke Greek. And Hellen are Israelites that did not know they're Israelites that were following after Greek ways.
Right. But a lot of those Jakes who still knew they were Jew, they were mixing and mingling a lot of that Greek mythology. That's where you get the Book of Enoch. That was written during that time.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Those were Jews. All right, they were zealous, but they were just going. A lot of them were going off.
Itching ears and all that kind of stuff.
Titans,
Yeah.
giants.
They were mixing the Greek, you know what I'm saying, mythology with the scriptures, man.
Yep.
All right.
That was it.
Solid points.
Yep. You want to go back to Daniel?
Okay, that's cool. This is back in the book of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 7. All right, because we just read verse 6, going into the leopard. Now we're going into the fourth beast. So Daniel 7:7 says, after this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth.
Right, and what is this talking about? It's talking about the Western Roman Empire.
Right. Yep.
Where do you find a history of the Holy Seed in that captivity? The New Testament.
That's right.
The Matthew, Mark, Luke. Who was ruling during this time? The Romans.
That's right. That's right. Who mastered weaponry using iron, and that's why it says iron teeth. This is another example here where the Lord uses, something that the heathen actually would know, and he uses that and ties it to that beast, the iron teeth. That goes into the Roman Empire, an example of their weaponry,
And just like when we read in John 11:48, when it says, if we let him thus alone, all men will believe, and the Romans will come and take. So the Romans were in power.
They were in power.
During that time.
Yep.
Okay, so ultimately, the New Testament is the fourth beast.
Oh, fourth beast.
But again, you're not going to have understanding of that if you just stop at Malachi.
Right.
You stop at Malachi, where Malachi is cursing out Jake and the Persian Empire, right? The rebuilding of the temple.
Right.
He was cursing him out. That whole book, Malachi, is just cursing out the leadership, right?
It's not the leadership, absolutely. The priesthood.
The priesthood. But then you close Malachi, and then now all of a sudden you in Matthew.
Rome. Yeah.
You in Rome.
All that Greek stuff goes out the door.
So you just read in Matthew, right? Then Paul comes onto the scene, and you think, well, shit.
Right.
The Greeks being brought in, shit. All nations can be everybody. God loves everybody.
Right.
And you have no idea what you're reading. This is where you Christians fail, man.
Absolutely.
Most Christians, they'll read the Bible like it's just like they'll read it from like front to back, thinking that everything is in chronological history or chronological order when it's not.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like if you read the book of Daniel, like for example, Daniel 5, that's like going like when you read Daniel 5 and then you go like Daniel 12 and 9, there's time jumps whenever you read the prophecies too. It's not like everything is just for face value. Like you got to know when it's talking about, okay, this is going to the past, this is going to history, this is going to the future. Like for example, Revelation. If you don't got the Spirit working with you, you would try to read a chapter of Revelation, and you'd be completely wrong because you think it's just going in chronological history just straightly down. And it's not. Like Revelation 20, for example. So you just can't jump from Malachi to Matthew thinking that you just got it. Now all of a sudden everybody's just accepting. No, bro, it don't work that way.
Another example of that is Luke comes before Matthew. That's why the virgin birth throws them off.
There it is.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yep. Luke was written before Matthew. Now Matthew was an eyewitness. Luke just said, "Look, I'm taking from all of the experiences." Just like if we wanted to write about One West, we could quote different quotes. We could just take from what we've heard and give you an overall view of what happened.
Like Mark.
Yeah.
He was quoting like what the Apostle Peter
Right.
told him.
Right. Peter told him
I'm
that.
an eyewitness account. And when you read, that's from Peter's perspective.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
He was there.
Yeah. Mark was Peter's scribe. Mark, he was an understudy of Peter. So when you read the book of Mark, you're like, well, he wasn't there. How does he know this? Well, he was scribing for Peter,
Exactly.
which was a common theme amongst the Israelites. So when you get the New Testament, the fourth beast, you got who it starts with John the Baptist. All right, of course, Yahushua, the 12 disciples, Paul, Cornelius. That's that holy seed in that fourth beast, in that captivity, man. And you can't understand ultimately what's going on in that beast if you don't have understanding of the history that went on with the third beast.
Right. Yep.
This is where you Christians fail. All right, and then when you keep reading in Daniel, the 11th chapter, which we don't have to do it, we can end it off in a minute, but basically the fourth beast comes back. So that church, you know what I'm saying, is back here today. And the men of the Lord are in their captivity all over again. Our Bivens, King Mashar, the different men, the Apostle Tahar.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a continuation of that church in that revival of the fourth beast. And this is the beast in which Yahushua returns to. He said, he cometh with clouds, and also those had pierced him. Because who was ruling when Yahushua was crucified? The Romans. Who gonna be ruling when he come back? The Romans.
It says that they that pierced them, right?
Yeah.
You know, well, this right here says great iron teeth. What are teeth used for? To pierce.
Yeah.
You know, just another example. It's talking about the Roman Empire right there.
Right, right.
You know?
So when you're reading the New Testament, you're reading the fourth beast.
That's it.
But Christians don't, I mean, Christians really, to them, this wouldn't matter. But to those of us, this is why you Christians better not come up to us. Because before we call the police on you, we might cut your ass real quick and then call the police. You know, following you got vocab following us around. Brothers in London,
They got a passport.
they got a passport to scoff. And what are their main arguments? The Greeks, Jew nor Greek.
Always.
It's always that because they don't understand the Bible. Okay, they have that's a very flawed perspective to come from the New Testament without understanding of what happened in the third beast. All right. So, any other points? Yeah.
Go ahead.
Hit it.
I just want to say, can I get this to make that point that you said about the beast coming back?
Yeah.
Can I just get this real quick? This
Yeah.
is Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter, in verse 15 in the NLT. It says, what is happening now has happened before, and what will happen in the future has happened before, because the Most High makes the same things happen over and over again. Woo! So, that's one of those points that just proves what the elder just said. Man.
Right.
You know? So it's that
Right.
beast again, man.
Right, because within the revival of that beast, which is expounded on in Revelation 13, is where the chip comes.
Right. Exactly.
The chip comes in the revival of that. So we're literally here, the Church of Babylon, the church, all right, in Babylon, all right, the Church of Yahushua raised up in Babylon, like this is where because all of the captivities recorded what was happening with us in our captivity. So now this is being recorded. The prophets in Babylon, you know.
If I may add on to your point real quick, so how, like, just what you just said to the Spirit, right? About Revelation 13. How can Revelation 13, 9 and 10, he that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity? You're talking about Israel. How could that, how? You know what I'm saying? Like, if Revelation 13 is going into the revival of the fourth beast, and then the stone that's cut out of the mountain without hands comes and breaks the image and smashes it, alluding back to Daniel 7, Daniel 2, how could that be talking about Israelites going into captivity if that's the case? If you're really just logically looking at the prophecy, how could that make sense?
Well, when you read in Daniel 2 and 44, it talks about the kingdom that Yahushua raises up is going to be endless. It's going to be eternal. So
Yep.
we're going to be ruling, man.
I just wanted to make that little quick point.
Yeah.
You got these reprobates out here talking about, now that we breaking that down wrong now.
Stupid ass
You know,
niggas.
F these guys at the end of the day. But I just wanted to make that quick point because it just sparked my mind when you said that. I'm like, how is that doesn't even make sense. You know what I'm saying? But anyway.
Right. You said something.
God, yeah, just as a quick footnote, and it's just a quick point going back to the Medes.
Yeah, hit it.
Because I made mention how in each and every one of these beasts that are listed in Daniel 7, the Lord uses an example that they can actually relate to, like, Lamasu, which is the lion having the eagle's wings, or the leopard with Alexander, or the great and iron teeth with the Romans. But I forgot to make mention of the significance of the bear and the Medes. So pretty much, a lot of so-called scholars will try to tie that bear to Russia in Daniel 7, which in Revelation 13 it makes mention of that, and it's talking about Russia. But more so, when you look in Russia, which part of the Medes territory was, is where Russia is today, you have the Medes that were right there. That has the largest bear population in the world. In the whole world, largest bear population right there. So just another example, of how the Lord uses, pretty much historically what those people can relate to. Oh, it's got to be talking about this area because they're known for such and such.
Wow.
So the Lord just used examples as He always does through the Spirit. Just want to make mention of that because I forgot to make mention of that earlier.
Right. So to overview it, all right. The history of the captivity, the prophets, the men of the Lord, Elijah and Elisha are doing the kingdom of Israel, along with King Ahab, Jezebel. They were all around doing there. But, the men of the Lord, Elijah, Elisha, Joel was doing the kingdom of Judah. Assyrian, Jonah, Tobit, Hosea, Amos, Micah, Nahum, which is Babylon as well. Isaiah, the Babylonian Empire was Jeremiah, Zephaniah, Obadiah, Habakkuk, Ezekiel, Daniel, Baruch.
You can throw Judith in there too.
Judith,
Oh yeah.
Judith, yep. And Susanna was Susanna.
Babylonian, yeah. Yep.
Susanna was doing Babylon. Daniel was around.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? Baruch. Right. Yep. So man, we gotta add what's Ruth where in Babylonian?
Nah, Ruth was that was before that was before King David was on the scene.
I'm tripping.
You talking about Judah or
Ruth is doing the
That was before David.
Yeah.
But you
Yeah.
teach us that, so you just
Yeah,
slip
I'm
of the
tripping.
tongue.
It was
Yeah,
a slip of
you
the
taught
tongue.
us that.
right. Right. So where we at? Okay, the Babylonian Empire said Jeremiah, Zephaniah, Obadiah, Habakkuk, Ezekiel, Daniel, Baruch. The Persian Empire, Ezra, Nehemiah, Zechariah, Haggai, Malachi, Esther. The Greek Empire, Mattathias, Judah Maccabees, Eleazar, Sirach, Rome, John the Baptist, Yahushua, the 12 disciples, Paul, Cornelius, all right? Babylon the Great, Abba Bivens, King Masha, High Priest Ariah, High Priest Elder Yaquab, Elder Shar, Elder Apostle Tahar, Great Millstone.
That's right. That's it.
So, yep, it's a continuation, you know what I'm saying? It's being recorded. What's that scripture? Where it talks about this is going to be recorded? Is that Malachi or Micah?
How's it worded now? It's going to be recorded.
A book of remembrance?
Oh, book of remembrance. That's in Malachi 3.
Yeah.
I get it quick.
Because all of this is being recorded, just like what was being recorded. And there's more. There's more books we don't have of kings and different men of the Lord in these captivities that we'll get in the kingdom of heaven. But this is the church is now being recorded again, man, and that y'all don't get it. Where we at?
Malachi 3:16. It says, "And they that feared Yahweh spake often one to another, and Yahweh hearkened and heard it. And a book of remembrance was written before him for them that feared the Lord, and that thought upon his name.
Woo.
And they shall be mine, saith Yahweh of hosts, in that day when I make up my jewels. And I will spare them as a man spareth his own son that serveth him. Then shall ye return and discern between the righteous and the wicked, between him that serveth the Most High and him that serveth him not."
We're doing that right now.
That's happening right
It's
now.
happening as we speak.
Yep. So there you go, a book of remembrance. So this is all going to be remembered, just like the Acts that we just read about, you know. And it's so much we could have went into each writing, but it's, you know, I just wanted to give an outline of what you're reading. You know, when you're reading Jonah, what empire was, you know, that's good to know. You know, when you're reading Ezra, you know, what's going on here, what empire is ruling. You can get into some of the intricacies of what was happening during the time as well. I like to do that, but it's just to give you a guide, you know, through the Spirit. You know, write it down, you know, and ultimately, hey, just get, hey, with all thy wisdom, get understanding. So, anybody else got
You gotta
anything?
get into it.
Yeah, you gotta get into
You
it.
have to get into it. You gotta get into the scriptures, man. You gotta really get into it.
Yeah,
If you just read it just for, you know, just looking at it and, you know what I'm saying? No, like you gotta really dig into it. But that's what the elect gonna do.
yep,
You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? So
yep. So this is where you Christians lose, man. You skip a whole beast. How you go skip over a whole beast?
Do no research.
Through.
you watch
Alright.
a movie and you skip 45 minutes to an hour of it. And
Right.
But you trying to tell me that I got it wrong and I'm watching the whole movie.
Well, you turn on the movie Sinners, and the big nigga turned to a vampire. That big nigga. You like what? You don't know what that.
You don't know how it led up to that point. You know what I'm saying?
But you trying to curse me out, trying to tell me that I'm wrong.
Yeah.
No, like I watched the whole movie.
You leave it on that part of the movie, you wondering why they ain't let the nigga in the house.
Right.
Let him in. What the fuck they doing?
Come on, man.
Fucking up the whole shit.
Right.
Goddamn.
These niggas mean. All right, man. So with that, man, we will give all praises to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh,
Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Kodash.
double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders at Great Millstone. Peace and salutations to the elect. Shalom.
Shalom.